the farther back, within reason, the club head works this way, the more motivation you have to turn.
Oh yeah.
And time to turn.
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We want this thing kind of working back in this direction. And one of the analogies I always use to kind of correlate that concept is the idea that if I was going to athletically throw this club out to the range, I wouldn't do it like this, okay? Because I'm not going to be able to throw it very far. I would actually initiate it with my pelvis, which would then create a chain reaction and allow this club to actually load back behind me this way. Same thing.
Hey guys, in today's video, we're gonna talk about the perfect downswing and a couple pieces to train in for you to have that perfect downswing you're looking for. In today's video, I'm gonna be with my buddy, Josh Koch. Josh is one of the top long drivers in the world, as well as an awesome golf coach based out of Orlando, Florida. You guys are gonna love the videos. If you wanna check out Josh's stuff, we'll put the info in the description down below. You can see his website, hitbombs.com. You can find him on YouTube by searching Hit Bombs and on Instagram at Josh Koch Golf. All right, Josh, so let's talk in this video about a couple of keys for the perfect downswing. Now, we talked a little bit, if we were gonna make a list, right, of what are the top 1, 2, 3 things that would constitute a perfect downswing, there's really 2 key items that we would both say would be at the top of that list. One of them would be pelvis rotation or hip turn. And the second one would be shallowing the shaft, or where the center of the mass of the shaft is. We agree with that?
100%.
So those are 2 key pieces that we would see in all good swings, or how I would teach a perfect downswing pattern. I think that's pretty commonly accepted. I think the question mark is, how do I do that? How do I practice it, etc. So the hip rotation part in particular, Josh, how would we, or what are some of the things we want to look at to increase the hip rotation?
Yeah, so what I like to see is that by the time we get to left arm parallel in the downswing, I like to see the knees kind of squared up, okay? That's kind of my checkpoint to tell me if the rate of rotation is happening fast enough. Now, for me, that feels like I'm actually starting to change direction about halfway back in the backswing, okay? So now, that doesn't mean that everyone should feel that. I think it depends a lot on where you currently are at in the spectrum. So my background was I came from more of a longer windup. So a lot of hip rotation, a ton of hip rotation, huge windup, a ton of thoracic rotation. So for me to actually get to a point where I had that amount of separation, I had to feel it that much faster, as early as about waist high in the backswing. Wow. Now, someone who already has kind of fast hips probably doesn't need to emphasize that, especially if they lack the rotation or the windup in the backswing. So then in that scenario, they would probably feel more hip rotation or more trail leg extension going back.
Yeah, exactly. We talked a little bit before about step 1. This is a downswing video, right? But step 1 before you would even get to this is, hey, do you have enough turn going back in the first place? Right. And getting enough turn back. And then as your turn back gets where it should be, maybe getting that belt buckle turning sooner, getting the hip rotation sooner. Right. And one of the points you made that I think is really good is when you feel something compared to when it actually happens. Right. Yeah, that's a good thing to talk about. So, you know, going back to the idea that I want to have my knees kind of squared up by P5 or left arm parallel, I'd always kind of get to the top and I'd feel like I'm firing my pelvis and I'm like, man, I can't quite get that look that you see of a Kyle Berkshire or a Rory McIlroy or Dustin Johnson, who's got crazy fast hips. And for me to actually get that look, like I said, I had to feel like I was actually doing it a lot earlier in the swing, which then changed the aesthetics of what it was actually doing. And if we were to just kind of demonstrate with a club there, Josh, for you, you're saying even in the beginning pieces, you would feel like when the club's halfway back. Yeah, it feels like it's being thrown back, and then I'm already kind of trying to feel like I'm going the opposite direction, which is then creating a huge stretch through my core and my obliques. And that leads us to the second part of what we would look for sort of a good or perfect downswing, which would be whatever we want to call it, where the club is at the shaft pitch, the shaft plane, and having a shallower downswing motion. Correct. And so I think that stretch cycle, right, of what you're feeling the arms and hands do to influence the shaft also will have an effect on the rotation. Let's say in particular, if we were to isolate the lead arm motion, and what are some of the things we'd want to feel in terms of lead arm in the body and how that would influence the shaft?
Yeah. So in particular, especially if someone has a decent windup and then they lack rotation in the downswing, there's a good chance the lead arm is probably pulling away or abducting too quickly. So what they want to do is they kind of want to go to the top, leave this arm up across the chest, and then almost incentivize the pelvis to have to move, or else they wouldn't be able to get the club head to the ball. Which is, like I said, if you take this away, it's going to force something else to have to power on and get you to the ball. If this moves, now we really don't got to fire our pelvis.
No incentive, like you said, no motivation.
Right.
And if we, let's grab that club one more time, Josh. And if we just go, let's do kind of halfway back and pause just for a second. And if we look at this motion, like if you were to start turning your body and your bicep starts to push back into your chest as you work down, right, into your body, there's always a chain reaction, right? Your lead shoulder and elbow are typically going to move a little bit more internal. That's going to change where the shaft is at in space. Right. Get that mass of the shaft a little bit more behind your hands, which is another piece of the farther back, within reason, the club head works this way, the more motivation you have to turn. And time to turn.
Correct. Yeah. We want this thing kind of working back in this direction. And one of the analogies I always use to kind of correlate that concept is the idea that if I was going to athletically throw this club out to the range, I wouldn't do it like this, okay? Because I'm not going to be able to throw it very far. I would actually initiate it with my pelvis, which would then create a chain reaction and allow this club to actually load back behind me this way. Same thing. It's just the organizing of how you're moving your body in the right sequence to then create a reaction at the end of the chain.
And part of the point, which has been an underlying theme of a lot of the videos we've talked about here, is do things dynamically that create all this other good stuff later on.
Right. And not that we expect someone to go out and be Rory McIlroy out of the gate.
Swing two.
Right. But at the end of the day, you know, when we talk about mechanics and we talk about applying these things, it might sound like a lot, and some people need that given their certain situation. But it's understanding, all right, how can I take these couple of things that I'm working on and condense it down to one motion that allows all of those things to happen automatically? And that's essentially dynamics.
And so if someone wanted to start this process, right, and they're like, all right, like that, get that, understand that, and they wanted to start to get some feels here to do this, the feels and the drills here, would you start someone where maybe they're getting the club somewhere nearish, left arm parallel-ish? Like I like the kind of the sensation of feeling the bicep pushing into the pec as that belt buckle is working towards the target. Something like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's I've used that one a lot. Pretty much I'll do it a lot with wedges because I'm hitting a lot of 9 o'clock shots. So I'll go back to 9 o'clock and then kind of feel like I'm turning into that arm. Another good one is what I call a Hideki Matsuyama drill. And quite simply, you go to the top, you stop, and that stopping motion allows you to actually load, kind of gather the lead arm across the chest, and then fire your pelvis from there.
Love that.
In an effort to deliver the club head. So.
And I think that, you know, the perfect downswing, those are good starting points. Obviously, in reality, the perfect downswing starts with good dynamics during the backswing.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right? And we talked about those in the takeaway, how to start the backswing. We talked about that in the transition video, right? And I think this is a good layering on top for someone to watch and see, I want to have a good downswing. What am I looking for? Well, really good checkpoint with the rotation. Can I get my knees parallel by the time the left arm, or get my knees square by the time my left arm's parallel? Be really easy for someone to record themselves from down the line. I'm either there or I'm not, okay? And if I'm not there, well, what can I do to start? Well, okay, I can start to get that, feel like it's turning sooner, especially if I have enough going back. And for me to get the shaft in a place that's gonna motivate and influence rotation for me to turn more, having that lead arm adducting, having the shaft a little bit shallower, gives my brain a lot of motivation and time to be able to add that rotation. Just want to recap all of what we just said there. I think
it's a deep video,
yeah.
but good, a lot of good concepts here.
So I think that that's a really good place for people to start. Obviously, you guys saw some of the videos of us doing the drills and feels in there. I think those are good places to start. Josh, that was awesome. If you guys have any questions, as always, leave a comment down below. Hey guys, thanks for watching today's video. If you did like the video, do us a favor, click that like button down below. Really helps us out, spread our videos to more people so we can keep making videos for you guys. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you guys do like these YouTube style videos, we're gonna go ahead and put a card on the screen for a similar style video to this one. If you do want online coaching, I would love to help coach you. We'll put the card on for CogornoGolf.com. We'll also include the link down in the description down below. Thanks for watching.